Hello and welcome to Market Open Direct Connect, the webinar series for companies to tell their story, why it's compelling and why it's an opportunity to invest. I'm your host, Stuart Walters, and we're joined here today by CEO Errol Smart of Orion Minerals, ASX code ORN. Errol will provide an update on the recent progress of the company's two copper assets and will participate in a Q&A where you can submit any questions via the Q&A tab at the bottom of your screen. I'd like to introduce Errol. Welcome, Errol, and over to you.
Hi, Stuart. Good to join you. Thanks a lot. Hi, everyone. You've all seen the disclaimer, and the lawyers will tell me, did I remind you that you needed to check the disclaimer? But please pay attention. So just a moment to sort of reflect on what our mission is, what we're trying to do with Orion, and where we're at in this journey at the moment. And this is something that we started back in 2015, when we started looking at acquiring what have become called critical mineral assets in South Africa. But really, we were focused on base metals, copper, zinc, nickel, cobalt, and then the suite of precious metals that are found as byproducts with them. We had a vision that we believed we could implement something specifically in South Africa, but it's something that you could do internationally. We wanted to put together a company that had the full suite of assets, everything through from exploration, mine development, mine operation, and ultimately into the future, we'll be looking at battery precursor or refining technology and all of that. So we're on a journey. So over the last 7 years, we've done 17 mergers and acquisitions in South Africa. We've assimilated a fantastic portfolio, second to none in South Africa. And we have a lot of the major companies coming to us and saying, this is exceptional. How did you manage to put this together? We were all asleep. How can we work together? So that we've achieved. Mining. Well, we've been working on 2 bankable feasibility studies. In fact, the one we've been working on since 2020, when we actually published the first bankable feasibility study. But we've got both Prieska Mine and OKIP in the final days of their bankable feasibility studies at the moment. Most importantly, the Prieska Mine bankable study is showing that if we had money in hand today, literally within 12 to 18 months, we could be in production. So then we fulfilled the mining. It's not just development anymore. So we'll have first-class exploration, as we've demonstrated over recent weeks with exceptional drilling results. We'll have production from a copper zinc mine, and we will have development, imminent development from the OKIP production. We've got renewable energy feeding these and some very exciting opportunities emerging on the renewable energy through grid wheeling in South Africa, because South Africa has got one of the world's biggest renewable energy programs running. And then the exemplary ESG standards. We are attracting finance, and the discussions that are underway at the moment with both off-takers and financiers is as a result of us actually having won several ESG awards. So this vision is emerging. The battery precursor production, we fiddle with it. We do a bit of stuff on the background. We are seeing some very interesting potential partnerships emerging from that. Some really interesting discussions. It's not our focus. Our focus right now is mining and continuing exploration. So the corporate structure at the moment, as you all know, we've just completed a 7.7 million capital raise. The cleansing statement on that went out this morning. So we've got $105 million market cap, about 6.6 billion shares on issue. It's a very high number of shares, and I wish it was smaller. Very often asked the question, will there be a consolidation? Very clearly, there will be a consolidation in future. But it isn't something for now. Our hands are busy. As management, we focused on 2 bankable feasibility studies and an absolute red-hot exploration program at the moment, delivering fantastic results. We can't be distracted at the moment by a consolidation. Our current shareholders, Tembo Capital, that have been supporters since 2017, are really strong supporters still. We are in Tembo Fund 2. Tembo Fund 2 is fully deployed. So we do not get additional funding from Tembo Capital, but they're very strong and supportive shareholders. And Mark Palmer sits on the board on behalf of Tembo. The Delphi Group, which is a group of German investors, which particularly the Australian shareholder and investment public know quite well, because Delphi are broadly deployed and have been in some spectacular successes in Australia over the last year, are still strong supportive shareholders. They just participated in the most recent placement. Clover Alloys, that joined our company last year, are an 8% shareholder. Again, they joined with the hope of possibly a slightly different development strategy, but they are not negative about our development strategy. They are supportive about our assets. They love our assets. And in fact, they would like to invest directly into the asset level. But at the moment, we are not taking investment at asset level. We want all of our shareholders to hold at the same listed equity level. And share, the risk and reward share must be at listed equity level. So great relationship with Clover. We continue to work with them. Thomas Borman, who has spent 5 years on our board, is a very highly respected mining finance person, an ex-CFO of BHP, good supportive shareholder. And board and management and friends own a significant portion of this business. Quite interestingly, as this business has progressed since 2017, when we dual listed onto the Johannesburg Exchange. And remember, this is a dual listed company. You can buy a company share on the Johannesburg Exchange and sell it in Australia. You can buy the shares in Australia and sell it in South Africa. And we see a lot of that happening all the time. But strangely enough, very often an arbitrage opens between the two. And there are times, and even in the last month, we have seen times when there's a 15 or 20% discrepancy in the value between the two shares. And that's very important when you look at the volume-weighted trading average price of the shares. Over the last 12 months, on the right-hand side there, you see the graph. Over the last 12 months, 78% of all trading of Orion shares has happened on the Johannesburg Exchange. So the Johannesburg Exchange actually does the price determination. It is not the ASX that's actually leading in price determination anymore. And over the last week, for instance, I think probably 95% of trading, if not more, has been on the Johannesburg Exchange, where we see high volumes trading every day. And that's important, because on the Johannesburg Exchange, even yesterday, we were trading at 19 to 20 cents during a time that we're offering a share purchase plan at 18 cents. This is a very valuable investment opportunity for South Africans through a share purchase plan, where they can acquire between 2,000 rands, 163 Aussie dollars, up to 30,000 Aussie dollars, or 360,000 rands of shares at 18 cents on the Johannesburg Exchange without any brokerage fees. Now, that's a very important opportunity. We keep getting approached by South African shareholders that say, listen, I very happily buy in the market and I buy these shares at the price, but the money doesn't filter through to you as a company that needs financing. How do I participate in financing your business to advance the business? And this is the opportunity. We have just done a very successful 7.7 million Aussie dollar. It's approximately 92 million South African rand capital raise. On the back of that, we have now offered up to $5 million, so that's 60 million rands, in a share purchase plan where every shareholder can participate on the same terms as the capital raise participants. More importantly, they actually get to see the outcome of the capital raise. They see the financial structure of the company and the financial position of the company, which is very strong at the moment. We'll be releasing quarterly results tomorrow or early Monday, and people will be able to see that this company is very well financed at the moment for the next 12 months, We're on a mission. We're moving very quickly towards production at Prieska, shortly to be followed by OKIP, and OKIP is delivering exceptional drilling results. So let's just quickly flick through the projects then and remind people. So our projects are in the Northern Cape. For the non-South Africans, this is 30% of the surface area of South Africa, the Northern Cape, with only 3% of the population. So it's a very sparsely populated desert area in South Africa. It's got a completely different vibe and feel to it, to the eastern part of the country. We have got one of the prime land packages of mineral rights in the whole country. This is a region that has produced over 2 million tons of copper, and we're only starting to see new copper production starting to emerge again in South Africa. And we hope to add to that. We have got a management aspiration by the end of this decade of producing 50,000 tons a year of copper. We have got in the feasibility studies that we're busy doing, and in the studies that we published previously, we've shown a clear path to get to at least 30,000 tons a year of copper production within 3 years of financing being raised. We are working now in these new feasibility studies to accelerate that path. And it's not just the existing JORC resource. We always try to explain to people that these are foundation feasibility studies to buy us time while we're mining, while we're producing profits, while we're building a mining business, to actually unlock the real exploration opportunity. And over the last month, we have delivered some of the best copper drilling results that have been developed anywhere in the world, And that demonstrates what the opportunity at OKIP is. So, you know, you guys can see this on our website. These presentations, elements of these presentations are available and in the public domain. But this has been our pathway since 2015. So over 9 years, we set out to achieve a 10-year goal. We are on the brink of achieving that 10-year goal at the moment. And I think the market misses this. People very often ask me, when will this share price re-rate? Well, I believe it will re-rate as soon as we show that we are financed and we are delivering profitable production. And that could be as close as 12 months from now. That's how close this could be. There are all sorts of discussions with all sorts of financiers happening. If we take a more conservative approach, probably 18 months, worst case, 24 months to production. You know, that's our management aspiration. That's where we see we're going. And we are delivering on every one of the goals that we set out in 10 years. There are very few copper development and exploration companies in the world that can table what we are tabling as an opportunity. So the Prieska mine, which is our flagship, it's a mine that was mined for 20 years. From 1973 to 1991, it was in full production. The last 4 years of its mine life, it actually just milled stockpiles. It was a successful mine. It produced beautiful quality copper and zinc concentrates that are in high demand. And as a result, the off-takers are very keen on this product. And we see a fantastic opportunity. We know that less than half of this ore body has been mined. There's been 46 million tons of ore mined. On the left-hand side, we see a cross-section through the ore body, which is a big synformal feature. The steeply dipping limb was mined. Anglo-Vol group that had built and operated this mine, when the dip changed and the dip reversed completely from dipping to the northeast to actually dipping to the southwest. So we basically went through a 270-degree change in dip in this ore body, and that's what stopped the mining. This mine needed to be completely recapitalized. At that time, they decided not to do it. We have since proven that we've got at least 28 million tons of current JORC resources at the bottom of this ore body that we can extract. But quite importantly for us in the short term, in the next 2 to 3 years, this block, and I hope you can see my cursor, the 105 block on the top left of the long section of the ore body, that forms part of the 31 million tons of current JORC resource. That's going to be our focus for near-term mining. But our JORC resource is in an envelope of known, shown mineralization. We know there is mineralization. We've got drill holes, we've got geophysics, downhole geophysics, showing that these ore bodies extend. That 31 million ton resource, my gut feel is that it will extend at least another 50% beyond that. But realistically, a minimum of 30% upside is a realistic expectation on this ore body. So there's a fantastic upside on an ore body that can be a very good financial provider. In the next 60 days, depending on the time that it takes for the independent experts to sign this off, we'll be able to start put 2024 current figures on that. So I'm not going to show you the capital costs and the NPV and the returns on investments today. We are busy with a bankable feasibility study that will shortly be signed off by independent experts, and then we will be able to table figures to within a 10% accuracy figure. So that's why we don't show the current figures. I can show you aspirational targets, what we believe as management and what we want to do. But importantly, we have just completed 6 months of trial mining of this sulfide block of 1.3 million tons at 2.4% of JORC resource sitting on this northwestern corner. It's just to 105 meters below surface. It's grassroots, almost literally grassroots. So it is pre-developed. There are declines, there's haulages, there's roadways. We have over the last, in fact, we started 9 months ago. What people don't realize, we have built a mine site. We have got a complete mine site that at the end of June, we were running with around 200 people. We had machines running everywhere, fully permitted. We've just gone through a full audit by the Department of Mines in South Africa, and we met all the compliance obligations for a full production mine in South Africa with all the appointed professional skills on board. The power is in place. The water is in place. We housed the 200 people. We messed the 200 peoples. So all of those capital costs are taken care of. We have broken the back of the mine development of this mine. All we need to do is add the concentrator and be in production. And the bidders into the BFS for the provision of a concentrator plant are bidding between 7 and 9 months to actually build the first concentrator plant. So 7 to 9 months from today, technically we could be in production. We have ore on surface at the moment, and we have a pre-developed ore body. And it's where this ore is critical. This was a photograph that was taken on the 310 meter level below surface. This is, look at the expanse over here. We're looking at a 12 meter expanse of hanging wall. Notice there's not a single rock bolt. There's no meshing and lacing. There's no gunniting on this. This is something that was mined 50 years ago. This was excavated 50 years ago. It hasn't collapsed. There's no rock out of place. It is fantastic mining conditions. And we've just completed this trial mining exercise to show that we can run modern, large machines and mine on the same basis with the same rock conditions. That's a huge winner. And we've also shown that we can do it in the ore. This previous photograph was in the development ends. This is in the ore that we developed, where we developed a 4.5 by 4.5 meter a primary drift haulage. Our mining method is primarily going to be a drift and fill mining method. This is a drift strike or drive. Look at the scale of it. Look at the rock conditions. It is superb. So just reminding people, we already have an $80 million US. It's an $80 million US financing facility in place for Prieska from Triple Flag. We also have the Industrial Development Corporation of South Africa that have just invested 20 million Aussie dollars, 240 million Rand in getting this trial mining going alongside Triple Flag's own investment in this. We have got premium partners in our business, both in Prisca and in OKIP. We have the Industrial Development Corporation as a key partner. So then just moving on to OKIP, OKIP, just the modern European, because let's remind you that since 1668, this has been a European mining hub. Since 1668, the governor of the Cape went to one of our sites and excavated the first copper and shipped it back to Europe. This has been a mining camp for 400 years. This is an exceptional place. It's produced more than 2 million tons of copper. The modern recorded production history is over 1.5 million tons of copper at 1.9%. It was consolidated from a group of mining companies in the 1940s by Newmont, modernized. It was the first mechanized mine in Africa in the 1940s. They were running wheeled machines hundreds of meters underground through declines back in the 1940s, people. This was a technology leader in its time, and it operated fantastically. There were 42 mines developed and operated over this 60-year period. For 50 years, it produced more than 20,000 tons of copper a year. And if we just look at the production history, Newmont at the time, this is real term copper price that we demonstrate. So Newmont went through exceptionally high real term copper pricing. Guys, look at those numbers. Those are the numbers that are being predicted as the future of copper pricing over the next decade by most analysts. So don't look at today's price. In fact, at today's price, we at over the 9,000 level. But look at those real term prices. Look at what happened over the decades. Newmont sold to Goldfields. Goldfields made good money in a little bit of a blip of the copper price. They sold to Metrex, and unfortunately, the price collapsed. Metrex stripped the mine. They shut down the smelter. This was the regional smelter for the whole of Southern Africa. The copper from the copper belt in Zambia used to come to OKIP. The Prisca mine copper used to come to OKIP for smelting. Well, when the smelter shut down, the mine closed, and that was the end. When the copper price started recovering, and we're looking at almost ancient history here because we only go back to 2020. Remember where we're looking at with current prices. This shows current prices at 8,900, but we're looking at 9,500 at the moment. And of course, the projections that all the visionaries are giving us are speaking around $12,000 to $14,000 a ton as the incentive price to build new significant copper mines. That's why we are uniquely positioned. We have tied up 75% of the entire district. We have got a mining right in the center that we are only waiting for a water use license before we are fully permitted to mine here as well. We have a bankable feasibility study due in a matter of weeks on this prospect. We have the Industrial Development Corporation as a partner. If we look at the exploration potential, all these dots on the map are known occurrences of copper mineralization. Many of them have got drill holes into that we've got the data for. The largest of the deposits, the majority of the large deposits are on our mineral rights. We are burning to drill more holes. We only started drilling the first holes a couple of weeks ago with immediate amazing results. Drilling 50 meters at 5% of copper anywhere in the world. That is an amazing thing. And then people said, oh, you can't do that again. But we did it 5 times again, 6 times again. We've drilled high-grade copper mineralization. We're starting to understand these ore bodies. We're starting to understand the use of the geophysics and the remote sensing to be able to tell where the best of these ore bodies are, because it's a game of ranking. It's not a case of, is there copper here? There is an enormous amount of copper here. It's a case of how do you rank your targets and drill the best targets first? And we're starting to deliver that. And yeah, just reminding people again, we are an ESG award winner, and that makes financing and developing critical metal mines, and specifically copper mines, a fantastic opportunity for a company like Orion. So thanks a lot. With that, I will hand over to questions.
Errol, thank you. Fantastic presentation. Clearly exciting time ahead and extremely informative. We have had a number of great questions come in, so I'll get onto those now. Why is the SPP offer price on par with market price? Surely it must be offered at a discount.
Well, remember this SPP, the decision to do this SPP was 3 weeks ago. At the time when we launched into the SPP, we were trading at between 20 and 22 cents in South Africa. We're offering the SPP at 18 cents, which is 1.6 cents in Australia. Again, as I say, the volume trading is really traded on the Johannesburg Exchange. Yesterday, for the first time, we saw that we traded or closed below the 1.6% SPP price. But the SPP is to match the equity investors that participated in the capital raise. So the SPP are existing, mostly retail shareholders, but every shareholder has the right, whether you're retail or professional, can follow the SPP. But you've got the benefit of, you've got 3 weeks to do your transaction. So you can go free up your cash and do the transaction. You've got the benefit of the insight that you will actually see the quarterly results published. You've seen diamond draw results continue to be published. And more importantly, you've seen the outcome of the capital raise. You know that we've got $7.7 million of new cash that's in the bank. You will see the financial position of the company as at 30 June. So we are offering a fantastic opportunity. What I'll also remind people is there's no brokerage fees on this. So if you, particularly for ASX investors, I dare say that if you're buying shares at 1.5 cents on the ASX, you are probably getting less shares for your dollar than if you were doing it in an SPP at 1.6 cents, because there are no fees attached. And on the ASX, there are very high fees attached on share trading. In South Africa, much lower fees attached to the trading, but still significant fees. So you're putting money into the company's hands to execute. So instead of just spending a couple of $1,000s, you're actually giving the company a couple of $1,000s to go drill another hole, to complete another optimization on the feasibility, to blast another meter of development on the mines. So you're participating in a mine development as opposed to just trading shares.
Why do you think the share price has dropped in recent weeks, even though they're reporting such great results?
Unfortunately, that is the nature of the beast. When you do these SPPs on the ASX, and the ASX shareholders obviously are very aware of this. In South Africa, this is a completely new thing to be offered. Orion did offer one in 2022, which wasn't widely publicized, but was very well taken up, strangely enough. And that's why we're doing it again. But because you've got a 3-week period that all your existing shareholders are given a price that they can buy shares at directly from the company. All your existing shareholders are bidding into the SPP. So you actually dry up the buying on market. So I am absolutely astounded by the volume trading that we've seen, particularly on the JSE over the last couple of weeks during the SPP. That means that there's either somebody busy putting together a bigger position, much more than what they can do via the SPP. So they're actually buying on market during this low price. But your retail trading, the guys that do the trading on a basis and a daily basis, and that's why we have 22,000 South African retail shareholders who trade the shares actively every day. They're not trading as actively at the moment unless they're busy accumulating a position. So there'll be 1 or 2 or 3, a handful of parties that are accumulating position. The others are busy bidding into the SPP. Generally, and I can't promise this will happen, obviously it's what I hope will happen, is as soon as the SPP closes, the only trading platform left is to go buy existing stock on the JSE or the ASX. then you start seeing the share price move again. So it's a trade-off that a company has to take. We need to be financed. We need to have the money. You've got to break eggs to build an omelet. Well, we've broken the eggs. We've set the price. We get the cash in, and then we deliver the goods. The proceeds of that investment are delivered, in our case, in a very short period. Over the next quarter, we are going to see exceptional results. You know, there's very few companies that in the next quarter are going to deliver 2 bankable feasibility studies, and I've got at least another 8 drill holes with very, very well mineralized core and tens of meters of it sitting in assay laboratories at the moment. You know, the news flow out of this company over the next 3 months will blow any other company away, any other company at a similar stage of development. So yes, the share price has drifted down. It's unfortunate. It does happen, because we even find that you will find opportunists that will sell some shares at above the SPP price and buy back in at the SPP price. Of course, they take a massive risk, because if we are oversubscribed on the SPP, let's say they go sell R1 million worth of shares and they apply for R1 million worth of shares. If we are oversubscribed, they might only get 500,000 rands worth of shares back. And then they might find themselves very quickly having to go back to the market and actually buy in at a higher price than the SPP. So there's a risk in playing this game. Equally, the guys that think that they're going to get clever and bring shares from Australia, sell them in South Africa, take the money back to Australia and buy back at into the SPP, well, you might not be able to do it because the rand is moving very rapidly. But let's talk about the things that have happened over the last month. You know, people like to blame Orion for everything, but let's look at what's happened. We've had formation of a government of national unity in South Africa. We've had an appointment of a new Minister of Mines. Tonight, we've got the opening of Parliament and the state president giving a new growth-oriented strategy for the company with minority parties involved in a government of national unity. The uncertainty that happened to get to this point over the last month was enormous. The government looked like it was going to fall apart on a regular basis. It really, we saw the volatility in the rand has been more than 5% over the last 3 weeks. That is because of the political situation. Let's look at the copper price. The copper price fell, and look, this is short-term copper pricing. We all know, and our belief, and all the analysts are telling us, is copper is going to be well above $5 a pound. But when we opened this SPP, we were trading at $4.65. This morning, we're at $4.39 a pound. So the copper price has fallen. Donald Trump got his ear clipped. The Springboks lost to Ireland. For heaven's sakes, a lot of things happen. So a lot of things happen in the short term of a company's share price and in the world around us. Let's look at the medium and long term. Let's look at what's going to happen over the next 3 months. What's fully funded and imminent in the news flow, and then the next 12 months ahead of us as a company. That's what investors should be looking at, and sensible investors are looking at.
Another question's coming around the SPP. Can we be sure that we'll get our full SPP allocation that we apply for?
Look, there's never certainty in that. As I said, we did deliberately put the SPP number quite high because we did want to give our very supportive retail investor support base a strong opportunity. So we did set it at 5 million. Back in 2022, without any marketing, without any sort of stirring of the pot and making people aware of the SPP, we got 1.3 million dollars from South African investors in the SPP. So we said, okay, let's allow for at least 3 times that much. We've got a much larger share base and people are becoming more aware, and maybe they're going to take part in it. But, you know, with the number of people that are telling me that they're taking up their full allocation, there's a strong possibility that we may run over the 5 million. And then there's a possibility that there'll have to be scaled back. That we will only be able to determine next week this time. So that's where we're at.
So will there be an extension to the offer period at all?
I very much doubt that. You know, because we've got such a rich news flow that's very imminent, we can't leave this thing open. We really do need to close it, draw a line. We're well financed where we stand today. We know we've got money for at least the next 12 months to take us through these feasibilities, complete the drilling that we're busy doing, get the news moving, get the market to assimilate where we've landed, get the market to see what is the net asset value of this company post the BFSs. Then we will see a re-rating in this company's share price. So we're not desperate for the money at the moment. So I think almost certainly we will close on time.
Given the outstanding assets that Orion has in the Northern Cape, why does management consistently offer shares to new funders at a discount to the trading price?
Yeah, I asked myself that question. Unfortunately, that is the nature of the market. It's unheard of that you do a capital raise at a premium to the market. We did it in Orion, actually, I think it was in 2018, 2019. We did do 2 capital raises at a significant premium to market at the time. That was because of specific transactions that were underway at the time, and there was a specific opportunity. At the time, we were heavily criticized for doing that at a premium to market. The fact of the matter is 99.99% of capital raises done anywhere in the world by a junior company are done at a discount to the VWAP of the market.
Should shareholders be concerned that the new funding agreements or the rolling of the existing funding agreements that have been spoken about will contain a switch from interest-bearing investments to equity investments via the issue of shares to the finances, and in doing so, diluting existing shareholders again?
So if I understand the question, is people are saying, are we more in favor of taking interest-bearing debt versus taking dilution with equity investment?
Yes.
And these hybrid instruments where we have a convertible instrument. It's certainly not our preference to do convertible instruments, but every time that we do something like that, we actually look at the total impact on dilution and on share price and the share value, the see-through value of the transaction. Every single funding that we look at, we say, listen, what is the impact? And guys, remember, I'm a significant investor. I've just written another check for $20,000 in this SPP. I'm a significant investor. I don't want to see dilution. Our chairman, Dennis Waddell, is a long-term investor that actually started backing me in 2015 when I wanted to bring an Australian company to South Africa to do this. He was one of the first guys that wrote a check. We've got a long-term supportive shareholders. Our board is full of invested people. And, you know, this is common on the ASX. In South Africa, you get criticized for having shareholders on your board. In Australia, it's seen as a very positive that you've got shareholders on the board because they've got skin in the game. They feel the pain for every decision that's made on every financing and structure. Believe me, my board beat me up every time that I want to do any financing that is dilutionary on them. But at the end of the day, we understand that the value comes from being fully financed. You know, last year, this time, when the market believed we were fully financed because Clover were telling us that they were going to underwrite the financing of all of our mines, our share price was trading at twice what it is trading today because the market felt that there was certainty of funding. So if I want to double this company's share price, I need to show a funding in place to get certainty in the market that we funded, and then the share price will double. That's my interpretation of what we're looking at the moment. So a person's always got to look at what does the funding cost you directly and what is the return on investment for securing that funding. If we've got to take funding that gives some dilution or as interest rates, and I'm more scared about rising interest rates. We're in a world of in the third world, particularly, and in South Africa, with interest rates that have shot up. It looks like they're settling. Maybe they stable. Maybe they start coming down. We're not certain. So there's this constant balance that you've got to do between the cost of debt and the cost of equity, and what's the benefit. But I've got one thing that I know for certain. The day that we say we're fully financed, we're building our mines, and we're going to be in production in 12 months, that's when you will see the share price set off to the races.
That is the next question, is when will you be producing?
The ASX will probably arrest me if I give you that answer. As I said, is all that is remaining at the moment. We have got ore on surface. We've got 270 meters of development on ore at the moment. I visited the underground last week. Every one of our faces is sitting at ore at over 5% at Prescott. All we have to add is a concentrator plant. The suppliers of concentrator plant, the engineering companies, are telling us they can do it in 7 to 9 months. The capital cost is within our reach. The funders that are prepared to fund that, including off-takers that are prepared to take our concentrate. We're in discussion at the moment with off-takers that are prepared to provide us with the financing to build the plant so that they can get the certainty of taking our concentrate for a period. And we wouldn't do a life of mine offtake. That would be a very unhealthy situation. But we've got to give off-takers sufficient comfort that they will get sufficient of the product to justify them providing that additional layer of risk, or taking on that additional layer of risk of actually funding the plant. So there's ongoing discussions about that. So I can't tell you exactly when. Technically, I could tell you that if we had the money in the bank today, every one of our consulting team that is doing the feasibility studies will be comfortable to tell you that within 12 months, we could be milling and producing product for sale. So that's where we're at.
We've had some great questions come in, and we've got a few more to go. One come through on the quarterly results. When will you release the quarterly results so they can see current cash position and plans for near term?
Yeah, we are busy finalizing numbers at the moment, getting the 5B done. If all of that is done by midnight tonight, it'll be going out tomorrow. Otherwise, before market on Monday is the target. But, you know, the last day of preparing a quarterly is quite a frantic effort. So hopefully it's done by the weekend.
Has the ore on surface been showed on the financial statements, and what is the value of the ore?
No, the ore on surface hasn't been put in the financial statements. We have put it through a crushing plant. We've sampled it in our mine laboratory. So we have got our own estimate of the grade. But to put it in our financial statements, we've got to basically, you've got to do the bankable feasibility study. You are not allowed to state it as an asset until you can state with certainty that you can realize the asset in a time period and the value that you can realize it for. So no, it's not in our statement. It's a nice little cherry that's sitting on the ground over there.
Have you been approached by some of the larger mining houses at all?
Yeah, look, we're constantly approached by people. We have taken a very deliberate decision as a company and as a management group not to be distracted by it, because in the past we have been very distracted. Very often these groups want to get you into some kind of exclusivity arrangement, which basically becomes a chokehold. We will not do that. So we continue to speak to people. We have taken a couple of companies to site, so they have been seen on the site. And when you've got 200 people on site with seeing visitors and visitors with recognizable faces, rumors start flurrying around. So yes, we do have visitors. Yes, we have people looking. No, we're not distracted by it. Anything can happen at any time. Possibly we can take on a good supported venture partner here that can finance this business with us without us taking any more dilution in the Orion equities. There's all sorts of opportunities that we explore with people all the time, both on debt, on equity, on offtake. There's all sorts of possibilities that we look at.
Well, there's a couple more that have come in. What are the future capital requirements for you?
Again, within the next 3 months, we will be putting down the bankable feasibility studies on the table with the financing alternatives, and then people will be able to see those numbers. We are not able to tell you that at the moment. I could tell you my best guess at the moment, but in fact, I'm not allowed to. So let's just get the feasibility studies complete and get them tabled, and then people will see the exact numbers.
And lastly, could you
It's fair to
summarize
say that that number will probably be a lot less than what people expect.
Okay. Could you summarize the political stability post the election in South Africa? And what do you think are some of the major risks, if any?
Look, I think the political stability is significantly improved over the last month. It really is getting a lot better. We will see a mini State of the Nation address by the president tonight in a parliament that has been democratically elected and formed, and it's a government of national unity. It is a coalition government by any whatever name. It may be called a government of national unity, but essentially it's a coalition. It's a group of previously opposing political parties that have come together in the interests of the nation to do the right thing. None of them on their own have got a majority and can do exactly what they want to do it their way. Coalitions around the world are difficult creatures. They seldom are as efficient as a majority government. So that is possibly a concern. The noises that we're hearing coming from all the different newly appointed ministers and their teams seems incredibly positive. I'm quite astounded. There's a lot less bickering and fighting than I expected. The Minister of Mines yesterday made statements again, and he's in the newspapers today saying very positive things. Let's hope it's carried through. I'm always frustrated by how long some of these things take, but I would rather wait another 6 months for a proper, genuine, legitimate mining cadastre than them rush it, do it 6 months quicker, and the whole thing's a complete horses behind. So let's give them the time. I work through the Minerals Council of South Africa. As a lot of our investors know, I'm the chairman of the junior explorers and miners in the Minerals Council of South Africa. So very actively involved in trying to have a positive impact and make mining a matter. The power situation in South Africa has been dramatically improved. When we started the trial mining, we lost half of our shifts. In the first couple of months of trial mining, we were reliant on grid power. And because we were on a shared network line with other users, we couldn't get exemption from load shedding. We lost 50% of our shifts in the first 3 months. The last 2 months, we lost no shifts, and we achieved over our call of 105 meters a month of development with a single boom drill in both of those months. So that's just a very clear demonstration. Now we have our own 15 megawatt dedicated line that we've got exemption from load shedding. So I think we're in a very good position there. Our water is in a much better position. We have taken over the management of the water pipeline from the Orange River, from Prieska Town, that runs for the 70 kilometers to the mine and feeds the mine with potable water. So that's in our hand. The Minister of Transport, the newly appointed Minister of Transport, has clearly stated that she's going to look for private industry participation in accelerating and improving rail haulage and ports. Critical things. So the key economic factors in South Africa that are heavily influenced by political stability are in a very good position. So there will be noise. Unfortunately, that's politics. We cannot take account of noise, but South Africa is governable. We've got a good court system. We see criminals finally appearing that they're about to be prosecuted. So I think South Africa is in a very good position at the moment, and I see a very genuine positive sentiment starting to grow in the business community.
Thanks, Errol. That's all we've got time for today. For more information about Orion Minerals, you can head to the company website, orionminerals.com.au, or you can follow the company's social media channels. Thank you to everyone for attending today's webinar. Lots of great information and certainly some key takeaways. And I'll keep you updated on future Direct Connect webinar opportunities. Errol, thanks for your time today. Wishing you all the very best and look forward to chatting again soon.
Thanks, everyone.